Hello everyone, today you're standing on the road to the Las Vegas Strip. The year is the 1930s. If you enjoyed this journey, like the video, subscribe to Step into History, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next city.
Picture this. You're flying down a pitch-black desert road. Your headlights are the only thing cutting through the dark for miles. Then, boom, this little cluster of lights pops up on the horizon like some kind of promise. That's 91 in Nevada, back in the 1930s. And so, trust me, it's about to become the most famous strip of pavement on Earth.
I used AI to dig up the whole year-by-year story and development for you. So stick around, you're going to love this.
Before we start the timeline, there is something strange you need to understand about the Las Vegas Strip. It is famous for being Las Vegas, but technically, it is not even inside the city of Las Vegas. Most of the Strip sits in unincorporated Clark County, which means the corridor grew up in a space that was close to the city, but not actually governed by it. That detail mattered enormously, because it gave developers more freedom to build the way they wanted, without dealing with city ordinances. In the early 1930s, locals called this stretch of road the Los Angeles Highway, because it was the main approach for motorists driving in from California. The road carried US Route 91, and it was just pavement, dust, and long stretches of darkness between the city and the open desert. That emptiness is exactly why the Strip eventually began outside the city limits. When you build on open desert, you can offer huge parking lots, wide highway frontage, and a layout designed for the automobile age. Even better, you can sell a feeling. The feeling that guests have left town entirely and entered a separate little world. Our story really begins on November 26, 1930, when a roadhouse called the Red Rooster opened on what would eventually become the Strip Corridor. It was not a mega resort. It was not even a hotel. It was simply a nightclub offering food, drinks, and entertainment to people willing to drive out of town for a good time. But that was exactly the point. Before anyone could imagine building a full-scale resort out in the desert, somebody had to first prove that travelers and locals would actually drive out of the city after dark. The Red Rooster was the first real proof of concept, and the answer turned out to be yes. Then came the year that changed everything. On March 19, 1931, Nevada Governor Fred Bowser signed Assembly Bill 98 into law, restoring what historians call wide-open gambling across the entire state. This was the legal switch that flipped the future of Las Vegas into motion. Gambling could now be openly offered as a real business with payrolls, signage, and public advertising. This decision came right in the middle of the Great Depression, when Nevada was searching for any reliable way to pull outside money into the state. That same year, on July 4, 1931, a new club called the Dice Club opened on Highway 91. It became one of the first documented casino nightclubs operating legally on that road, and its location turned out to be historically important. Years later, that exact site would be absorbed into a major resort property, meaning the Dice was literally part of the physical foundation of what would become the Strip. And in the same incredible year, Hoover Dam construction officially began down the road from Las Vegas. The region's population pressure changed almost overnight. Las Vegas was a small city of about 5,000 people at the time, but somewhere between 10,000 and 20,000 unemployed workers descended on the area hoping for jobs. The city suddenly had more traffic, more paychecks circulating, and more demand for entertainment than ever before. On December 5, 1933, the United States officially ended national prohibition with the ratification of the 21st Amendment. For the clubs along Highway 91, this shift mattered enormously. Legal alcohol combined with legal gambling made nightlife businesses far more stable and much easier to promote openly. The corridor was still sparse and mostly dark, but it now felt like a legitimate business opportunity rather than a risky legal loophole. Investors who had been hesitant before could now look at Highway 91 and see something with real long-term potential. By 1934, the Hoover Dam workforce was no longer a rumor. It was a payroll. Employment at the dam peaked at 5,251 workers in July 1934, which gives you a concrete sense of how many people were earning steady wages and spending money in the surrounding region. Even though most of their leisure time still happened in downtown Las Vegas, the Strip corridor benefited indirectly because investors were paying close attention to the area's growing momentum and cash flow. Meanwhile, the federal government was building Boulder City as a planned company town to house the dam workers. To keep the workforce focused and orderly, officials banned gambling from Boulder City entirely and prohibited alcohol sales for decades. That decision had a fascinating ripple effect. Anyone looking for nightlife or gambling had to drive to Las Vegas, which strengthened the city's role as the official entertainment outlet for the entire dam region. On September 30th, 1935, President Franklin D. Roosevelt traveled to Nevada and dedicated Boulder Dam, as it was officially called at the time. Lake Mead had already begun filling behind the structure. Then, in March 1936, the builders formally turned the dam over to the federal government, and the first power generation officially began. Suddenly, Las Vegas had a genuine national landmark, drawing visitors from all over the country. The dam was an engineering marvel, and tourists wanted to see it with their own eyes. The idea of building a real tourist economy in southern Nevada now felt much less like fantasy and much more like a logical next step. By the late 1930s, Highway 91 had a few scattered clubs, but it still did not feel like a connected entertainment corridor. That started to change in 1938, when a man named Guy McAfee arrived in Las Vegas after leaving Los Angeles. McAfee had been a Los Angeles police officer and gambling operator, and he brought a promoter's eye to the Nevada desert. He understood marketing and crowds in a way that few people in Las Vegas did at the time. Then, in 1939, McAfee bought the Pair O' Dice Club on Highway 91 and renamed it the 91 Club. He even delayed its grand opening to coincide with a famous Hollywood divorce in March 1939, milking the publicity for everything it was worth. But here is the most important part of McAfee's story. He looked at Highway 91 and started calling it the Strip, borrowing the nickname from the Sunset Strip back in Los Angeles. The name stuck almost immediately, even though the road did not yet really look like a strip in any visual sense. The brand arrived before the buildings did. By 1940, the highway still had more darkness than lights, and most visitors still treated Las Vegas as a small town rather than a genuine resort destination. But all the necessary ingredients were now in place. Legal gambling, legal alcohol, steady automobile traffic from California, the Hoover Dam tourist draw, and a growing regional workforce with money to spend. The next obvious question for any outside investor with capital was straightforward. What if you built not just a club, but a full-scale resort designed specifically for motorists who wanted to stay overnight? The answer arrived on April 3, 1941, when El Rancho Vegas opened its doors on Highway 91, well outside the Las Vegas city limits, on desert land that many locals thought was way too far from town to succeed. El Rancho was conceived by California hotel operator Thomas Hull and designed by architect Wayne Mallister. It opened with 65 bungalow-style rooms, arranged like a motor court oasis around a central building containing a casino, restaurant, and showroom. The concept was revolutionary for that road. Drive in, park right next to where you sleep, and find everything you need
Not bad at
on
all. Feels like a
site.
fresh start. Yeah.
Food,
Good evening.
drinks, gambling, entertainment, and a comfortable bed, all bundled into one package. El Rancho's quick success proved the central insight that made the entire strip possible. Motorists would absolutely stop outside town if you gave them a complete experience in one convenient place.
Easy.
El Rancho's success proved that being outside town was not a weakness. It was actually a strength. On October 30th, 1942, the Hotel Last Frontier opened as the second hotel casino resort on the corridor. Built around the property that had once been the 91 Club, it kept the Western theme that El Rancho had pioneered and reinforced the idea that the highway could comfortably support more than one major resort. World War II created serious building material shortages, which helps explain why there were still long, dark stretches between the major properties. Then on May 22, 1943, the Little Church of the West opened as part of the Hotel Last Frontier complex. It is often described as the oldest building still standing on the Strip, and it quietly expanded what the corridor could represent. This was no longer only a place for gambling and late-night music. It was becoming a place where people came to mark the most important moments of their lives. With the war winding down in 1945, American travel began to loosen up again, and investors started imagining Las Vegas as a planned destination rather than just a quick stop along the way. That same year, the land that would become the Flamingo site was purchased by Hollywood nightclub owner Billy Wilkerson, setting up an entirely new kind of resort pitch. Then on December 26, 1946, the Flamingo Las Vegas opened its casino doors for the first time. The project had been originally proposed by Wilkerson and then taken over and completed under the direction of mob figure Benjamin "Bugsy" Seago. The Flamingo represented a completely new vision for what the Strip could become. Instead of cowboy boots and frontier charm, it offered Hollywood elegance, fine dining, and sophisticated entertainment. In 1947, the Flamingo officially opened its hotel rooms, after its initial casino-only opening proved insufficient. With the Flamingo's hotel finally up and running, Highway 91 had three major anchor properties operating at the same time. The idea of a connected resort district was no longer hypothetical. Then, on September 2, 1948, the Thunderbird Hotel and Casino opened with 79 rooms, a casino, and a bar, becoming the fourth major resort on the corridor. It was built directly across from El Rancho Vegas, and its arrival showed the pattern clearly to anyone watching. Themed resort, highway frontage, plenty of parking, and a complete on-site package designed to keep guests staying longer than a single evening. By the end of 1948, Highway 91 finally had enough major properties operating that the nickname Guy McAfee had coined nearly a decade earlier finally fit the reality people could see with their own eyes. Whenever I picture Highway 91 in the early 1930s, I see mostly darkness, with just a few brave little lights flickering against the desert. Then it becomes a timeline you can almost watch unfold. By the end of the 1940s, the Las Vegas Strip existed not as a myth, but as a real physical corridor, built piece by piece, from a chain of small bets on a lonely desert highway. Thank you for watching Step into History. For a brief moment, you stepped into a world that once existed, a city that shaped history, and lives that felt just as real as ours today. These stories are more than the past. They are echoes of how we lived, built, and understood the world. If you want to continue exploring lost civilizations, subscribe and join the journey. Where should we travel next?